know.
Yeah. Why? If you want to say, can anyone guess besides Mateos, how do you say to speak well? This is an interesting question. So you speak well.
No clue.
Yeah, that's an adjective, right? Or an adverb in this case. Um, it would be you're a good speaker, right? That's an adjective. You speak well, that's an adverb. Right? It means the same thing. We're just modifying one or the other. That's kind of the. I guess that was the question that Igor had, right? Igor, with Aga. But every time I read your name,
Yeah.
I think Igor, and you must have a sister named Shigor.
Oh my
Igor
god.
and Shigor.
English speakers always do that. They always want to pronounce the H. I said, no, it's just like the Russian Igor.
Yeah,
Just say Igor, please.
yeah,
But
because we
yeah,
don't write
yeah.
it with the H. That always gets me when I see people's names start with H. There was I was at Carnival. I was down on the street one day here in Pinheiros, and this guy had like soletrando the challenge, and the word he gave me had a silent H in the beginning, so I messed it up, and I was like, ah. Ever since that, I'll never go to the hospital because I
Oh,
can't.
but that's a guilty pleasure for me. English speakers mispronouncing words from other languages
Oh yeah,
because your alphabet and the whole thing, it doesn't work well, man.
yeah,
It doesn't make sense.
yeah. I understand
So
it.
I really do like the bullying of the thing.
Yeah,
But yeah.
that makes sense. Yeah, for us, it's also cute to hear Brazilians say the e at the end of words, like I don't know, beachy,
Oh, you're giving it back.
cloudy. You
You're
know,
getting it back.
it's so cute. It's like because for us in English, when you put the e at the end, like tupi, in, it makes it diminutive. So it's like you call me Kion, then you call me Kiani. It becomes like caring and diminutive. Does that make sense? So for us, everything you guys
Uh-huh.
say sounds very caring when you say that e
Oh,
at the
so
end.
it's like shaky, shaky,
Yeah, yeah. It's
shaky,
like cat, kitty, dog,
kitty. Uh-huh.
doggy. Right? You guys automatically put the e at the end to make it cute. It's very cute.
Yes, Talu said there, we're cute.
Talu
We're
knows.
cutie. We're cutie.
Yes, cutie, cutie, cutie. That's what my dad always says when he talks to Julia, my girlfriend. He says, "Let's go to the beachy, beachy," because he came and visited us, and we went to Parachi together, and he kept repeating what everyone said, "Beachy, beachy." He loved it. All right, cutie pies. Let's go to. I guess let's go. Let's start to talk about that lesson then. We're not just cute, just mischievous. Everyone came on time today. I'm very impressed. Maybe we'll get more people coming in. But you guys all came pretty quick. Usually people come after 10 minutes. So, who knows how to say to speak in Tupi? This is probably the one that we talk about the most. You guys can use
I
the
do
dictionary if you want.
I do follow Tupinizando, but I have no idea how to say things. It's like everything is new.
Yeah, I know. That's a big question I've always had. Is like a lot of people are interested in Mateos's content, but I always wonder how many people are actually like learning. You know, like trying to apply what he says. Because like I do. You know, he helps me a lot with Tupi. But I think most people it's kind of a curiosity thing. So we have to put in the actual effort to learn the language. We're not gonna get it out of 1 minute videos. His video today was really cool. You wanna talk about the video today? Did everyone see it?
No, I
Well, it
didn't.
was a video about the feeling of fear into P, because into P it literally means um, to to eating your own soul, to eat your own soul.
Yeah.
So I ate my own soul, or maybe I'm eating my own soul would mean I am afraid.
What was the word? It was angu, nyangu. Here it is. Devorar-se a alma. Can everyone see this? had a way last time to pop out this little thing so I could have your faces next to me. I guess nobody's face is here, so it doesn't matter too much.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna open my camera.
Oh, you
Okay,
are?
let me prepare.
All right. Well,
Prepare it.
in that case, I'll try to open. How did I do it last time?
I've been a teacher and I had online classes, so I feel that when we don't see people's faces, I'm gonna do it.
You understand how it feels. Yeah, it makes it a little difficult. Last time it gave me the option to like pop out the faces so I could keep them on the screen while I show it to you guys, and now this time I don't know.
I know I'm gonna be on YouTube, so.
Yeah, you don't have to do it. It's fine. We're gonna be on YouTube, so think about that when you put it on. Yeah, I guess I'm not gonna figure this out anytime soon how to pop out the faces. But if anyone knows, feel free to. Oh, open picture in picture. Here we go. All right. Yes, help the computer scientist with a computer, please. Let's unpin this. Okay, Talo, don't worry. Don't worry. The most thing is that I have my own picture in here, cause when I was trying to edit it, I don't know if you guys saw the cut that I did from the last class, but my picture was so pixelated, but it's better than nothing. All right, let's begin. Yeah, this one is interesting, right? To eat your own soul. This verb "u" is really common for us to see as a compound verb. You can make compound verbs in Tupi, basically by sticking verbs together. It's kind of confusing, but this verb "u" means to ingerir, means we're gonna eat or drink or smoke. We're ingesting something, right? And so, right, u. An interesting thing about "u" is that the object is incorporated between the suffix and the verb. I guess we haven't talked too much about transitive verbs, so I won't go too much into it. But one famous one that you guys have probably seen is poru, which is comer gente, right? So that's abaporu. That's that famous painting. Which we can go and find a picture of it. There we go, for everyone to know. You've probably seen this before. Abaporu. So this is like aba. Do you guys remember what aba means? Someone let me know. Agnes was on there. It's part of the pronunciation guide. Aba.
I remember the sound, but not with the meaning.
So aba means homem, means man. So a person, a man. Very good, Ivan. White man. No, it's not white man. It's more specifically indigenous man. So abaporu, basically, we have the verb poru is a combination of the verbs u, which means to eat, and then we're basically just sticking this poro. Maybe it's prefix. So this is a prefix which indicates an indeterminate feeling translating to people, right? So you can put this poro as I described on any transitive root, and it'll talk about like people as the object. For example, let me open text edit. This is our notes from the last class. We'll put the font down a little bit. But so for example, if we have the verb Ausubi. Ausubi. Does anyone know what that means? Other than Mateus. Ausubi. You guys can search it up in the dictionary. I'll wait for the first one to let me know.
Is it love?
Yes, very good. Now you're using the dictionary. All right, this is love. This is to love, right? And so this is a transitive verb. So as we talked about on Saturday, and I'll mention it again, transitive roots, whether they're nouns or verbs, we have to give them an object. And it's the same thing as in English. If I ask you, did you buy what you needed to? And you say, I bought. That doesn't make sense. You can't just say I bought. You have to say I bought it, right? We have a transitivity, weight. We have a balance. So tupi is just like that. So if you want to speak generically about people, right, as an object, you can say poro ao subi, and we'll see if the autocorrect lets me write this. So poro ao subi. What do you guys think that means?
I love you all.
To love people. So that doesn't have a sense of like second person, like I'm talking to you. That just means I like people in general, like people love, right? As opposed to maybe if I love an animal or if I love a specific person, right? So poro al subi, and when we use it in the absolute form, which means just when it's not possessive, we're gonna change the p to an m. It's just a phonetic change. So moro al subi. So if you see moro at the beginning of a a verb in the dictionary, that means that it means people, right? And then there's another root attached to that, so you can break it down a little bit further. Okay. So that's kind of what's happening with this poru, abaporu. So it's cool. And that's the same thing that was happening in Tupinizandus. Yes, Talu. Talu.
So is that change from P to M common, or is that just for that case specifically?
Yeah, let me show you. Let me show you an example. So, aporu ao subi. I love people. Right. So we're using this suffix. This right here is in the space of the object. I can underline that. Doesn't matter because it says it's unspelled. So aporo ao subi, right? So this is being used as I wrote this wrong actually. So this is moro ao suba. This is an absolute noun. So this is love for people. More like that. So when it's absolute, meaning that there's no possession going on, then it's like this. And just ask Mateos real. Oh, he left. I was gonna ask him to clarify something for me, but he's gone. But yeah, so these are absolute forms, and so that's kind of a tricky thing with pluriforms. And we haven't gotten too in depth on pluriforms, but basically there's a lot of phonetic changes in Tupi, which happen for phonetic reasons. They have nothing to do with the grammar. It's not a grammatical change. It's just sometimes there are phonetic changes, and there's a lot of them. And so we'll talk about them a little bit more as time goes on, but just know that a lot of the times when there's a pluriform, you'll see the word here, and then Navajo will kind of give you an alternative. It's kind of like a hint. It doesn't really give you that much information. He just puts an M here, and you're just like, okay. But yeah, you can see in these conjugated forms, it's a P, whereas if we were to search for moro here, it's the absolute form or the nasalized form, right? So the other thing is it become like this if it's nasalized. There's something that catches my eyes because it resembles modern Greek. You can talk, Ivan. Feel free to shout things out.
Okay. Yeah, this phonetical changing is very interesting because in modern Greek, I'm a scholar, so I know ancient Greek.
Mm-hmm.
And for modern Greek, it is very similar. Like N and T becomes D, M and P becomes B, and so on. So the phonemes are very close. So they mix and they change into something different.
Right. Yeah, that's very similar to what's happening here, right? So we, for example, like ma-e can also be written as mba-e because there's just, it's the same word. It just depended on who was saying it and also whether or not it's in a nasal environment. If the word that comes before mba-e or after is nasal, we're going to say it with the B, mba. But if it's not nasal, if it's an oral environment, then there's a high chance that we'll just say ma-e. Yes, Agnes.
Okay, correct my pronunciation if it sounds weird. So, aporuasub, it's I love people, right?
Yeah, aporo ao subi. So you want to do the W sound.
Aporuasub, okay. And if I'm not mistaken, she is I, right?
Yeah, so ishe is I. She is more of a personal pronoun. But
So-
ishe is the subject, yeah.
To make a sentence with I love you, I love people,
Yeah.
I don't necessarily need to put the subject ishi.
Correct. Very good. Yes. Yeah, and that's what we talked about on Saturday.
Yeah, now that I asked, I remember.
Very good, very good. Oh, it disappeared for some reason. Yeah, ishe aporo ao subi. And this is the prefix of a first class verb. So, yeah, I just wanted to show you this to understand a little bit better Tupinizando's video. But the question that Igor had today was mostly about the question that Igor had. We're going to create a nickname for him in this class. It was about adjectives. So I started writing this less than an hour ago, this page about adjectives. I'm going to improve it. So we'll go over this in the next lesson. This is part of the reason, the part that it's a work in progress. You guys got to bear with me. But let's talk about adjectives and how you can use adjectives. I might even change this name because I'm trying to teach you guys from the perspective of someone who's like learning to be from the mindset of someone who speaks to be, rather than teaching you from the mindset of someone who speaks English or Portuguese. And like I've said before, there is no such thing as an adjective or a verb or a noun in to be. We have roots which we can use in different ways, which will resemble an adjective, or it will resemble a verb, or it will resemble a noun. But it's not exactly a separate class, right? And so that's, I guess, what I want to talk about here is that adjectives are really just second class verbs. And so a lot of Tupinistas, they call them stative verbs or descriptive verbs. And so what that means is that they're implying basically an auxiliary verb of to be or to have. So for example, if I write, let's see, let's do this. Tuba. What does tuba mean? You might want to search it like uba. Uba. What is uba?
Okay. I search it. Is it kosher? I can't. Oh, tight. Is it tight?
No. Maybe I'm giving you guys a red herring. Uba. Kosher. Not quite. It's
Ash?
it's pie. Kosher is correct, right? But that's not the word I'm talking about. You were correct.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna be talking about the word pie. So pie is uba, and you noticed it's pluriform. It has this tt. We'll talk about this later, but it's kind of complicated to talk about now. So ignore that for the moment. Just understand that the pluriforms, they're gonna get an r when they're possessive in front of them. But the third person is what gets weird with the t's and the tts. We'll discuss that later. But so basically, if I say uba, that is like the dictionary form, I would say, of this of dad. Now if I say tuba, this is called the absolute form. So this means like a dad, the dad, a dad, tuba. It's not anybody's dad, it's just a dad. Or the dad, or the concept of dad. There is no such thing as articles in Tupi, like definite, indefinite articles. We don't have that. We just say the word, and you got to figure it out. So tuba is how we use like a dad, right? So oftentimes in this uba, we're gonna see it talking about it in terms of God, and I think this is really useful because probably most of you grew up in a Christian upbringing. I have to assume, but I don't want to assume, but something tells me. And so you all understand the ideas of Christian God. And so if I want to say my dad, right? I'm going to say what? Can someone who wants to guess? My dad. You can look at the dictionary if you want. It doesn't have to be a guess.
Ruba.
Yeah, Ruba. So it's Sheruba, right? Because we're gonna give it an R. So Sheruba, my dad. My dad. Rubs. That is not it. Okay. Now who can give me your dad? Next one. Let's do all of them. Someone other than Yvonne. And if you guys aren't sure, you can go to the verb section of the grammar. The second class verb, it's the same thing as possession. It's just that there's an A at the end of it. So we're gonna look here. We can see the next one for you is nde. So who wants to guess what it'll be for my dad? Your dad. Thy father. Thou. We use that more accurately represents nde. So no one's saying it. I'll say nderuba.
I was mute. I was muted.
You were saying it the whole time.
I was saying.
Thine
Deruba.
father. We'll say it like that because it's fun. That means your dad. Topai. Next. You want to say the next one, Igor? It's the next one on the list. We, but not you.
Ore.
Ore what?
Oreruba.
Perfect. Music to my ears. Oreruba. Our, but not your, father. Okay. Next one. Yande. Who wants to say it? I went into Farsi all of a sudden. Yanderuba. And so Yanderuba is one that we say often in these prayers, right? Yanderuba. No supai. That's one way that we refer to God, that you'll see God being referred to in these old Tupi texts. Yanderuba. Our Father. All of us, right? Is a universal, our Father. And there's two more. What's the next one?
Peruba.
Perfect. Peruba. And then the last one is going to be a little confusing. Y'all's father.
Would it be like Irupa?
So that's a good guess. It would be Iuba if it wasn't pluriform. Now, most pluriforms, if it just has a T, and I'll make a graph for you guys because this is kind of hard to put in your head if you don't have a graph like this. Where's the dictionary? Here it is. So you see this pluriform, it would actually be suba, right? Po sinza, because it has just a T, so that means in the third person it receives an S. This one has a double T, which means that the third person form is the same as the absolute form. I don't know why. I couldn't tell you why. That's just how it is. So this one's going to get a T in the third person. This is a very, it's a less common thing. A lot of words do have it, but it's less common. This is the most common version of pluriform where it'll be the same for all of them. And then it gets an S in the third person and a T in the absolute person, right? When it doesn't have a possession. It's confusing, but we'll go over that later. But just for now, you just know that it is, it's just tuba. Or ituba, I think. I'm not actually sure. Is Mateo still here? I don't think he is. Ituba or tuba? Pai deli. So basically, this is a noun, right? But it ends in A. It'll just be ituba. I think it'll be ituba, yeah, like that. So, how would I say I have a father? Anyone guess? So this is the lesson today that I want to show you guys. When we have a root that ends in an A that's not tonal, not like uba, right? The accent is on the u, not the a. We can take away that a and it just becomes a verb of the second class, which implies either to be or to have that thing. So if I say, if it's something to have, then it's have. You can kind of guess what it is, right? So if I say sherub, okay, sherub. Can anyone guess what that means? Oh, Mateos is back. Go ahead.
I have or I am a dad?
I have a dad, right? I have a dad. Or more literally, like so paisado. I am dadded, right? Like it's an adjective. Like I'm fathered, you know? Like I've got a father that makes me father. That's how Navajo.
So you always come from the verb, always the verb as a.
Yeah, the verb, I would say the root is without the a. That's like the root thing. And then when you add an a onto it, it becomes a noun, right? So sherub, I am what has a dad. I'm dadded. I have been fathered by somebody, right? I'm sired. Sheruba, now I'm talking about my dad, right? I'm talking about the noun related to my fathering. That would be the person that is my dad, Sheruba. So that's how adjectives work in Tupi. We use second class verbs to give ourselves a quality, basically. So if we take a look here on the page, I put a couple examples here. We can see run, rude thing or rustic thing. Oh yeah, Tupini Zondo's back. I want to ask him real quick. Is pai dele Ituba or just Tuba?
Just Tuba.
Just Tuba. Okay. That's what we thought. Okay, so that one, this in the third person pluriforms, they just swallow the pronoun for the third person. And you know, if it was a normal pluriform, it would be suba with an s, but it has that double t, so it gets the tuba in the third person. We'll go over that more. So yeah, so run, we can open this. You can see the Portuguese translation. Coisa grosseira, rudeza, rusticidade, bruteza. You know, sometimes we use this as a suffix to mean like fake, falso. You know, when something looks like something, but it's not really it. I don't know if that's a different thing. Is that a different word, Mateos, or is that the same word?
I guess it is the same word.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. So if I want to say I am rude, I would say cheiran, right? I am gross, I'm rude, I'm rustic, I'm rough, right? Deran. But if I want to talk about my rudeness, cheiran, my grossness, right? We just put an a at the end. So this is a verb, right? This is a noun with a possession. But it looks the same. It just looks the same. That's why I'm going to repeat this. I call these pronouns personal prefixes. Because they're not objects, they're not possessive, they're not subjects. They just mark who the person is. And different circumstances of when you use them is what will change their power, basically, their role. Any questions about this? All right. So those are for
just one little question. Sorry.
No problem.
I'm a little slow. I think I'm high on Dayquil.
You too.
So do we always omit the e in ende or ende?
You mean the e in the front?
Yeah.
So those are separate words. Let me show you here. Pronouns, personal pronouns. So you can see here in the personal pronouns, we've got these are for objects. I guess for this, call them object pronouns. So these subject pronouns are the full forms of these names. So ishe, ende, ore, yande, pe, a, e. And then these prefixes go with them for first class verbs, right? Things that don't act like adjectives. They don't act like something that we have or a quality. They're things that we actually do, right? We go and do those things. So those will get these prefixes. But the other prefixes in the verbs indicative mood, these ones come from those subject prefixes, right? They look very similar. They do come from that, but they're not the same words. So if you see it with the E in front of it, it's a subject, always. It's a subject. If you see it without the E, it could be an object, it could be possessive, or it could be the subject. Sometimes it even ends up being the subject. But you'll get the hang of that. So they're different. They're completely different.
Gotcha. I was looking at the wrong table.
No
Gotcha.
problem.
Thank you.
Yeah. And we can reorganize these things too. If you guys find that, one information could be put somewhere else, completely open to feedback and making this the most useful thing. Nobody's going to have a hurt ego over this thing. We want to make it good. So, if there aren't any questions about that, I'll tell you about the vowel ending nouns, right? So, every noun in Tupi has to end in a vowel. That's a rule. That's always a rule. If it doesn't end in a vowel, it's not a noun. Okay? You can record that into your brain. There's no exceptions to this. These are all the vowels. If you click on this, it'll show you all the vowels. That doesn't include semi-vowels. So like the ya and the wa, those aren't vowels. Those are consonants, okay? Semi-vowels are consonants. We treat them as such. Even if it has an A tonica, you leave it as is. So anytime you find a root that ends with a vowel, it's the same thing. Nothing changes. So you can see with aruru, that's sadness, right? They can either mean I am sad, I have sadness, or my sadness. It could mean any of those things because we're not changing the word. And so, that's where I put this warning is that a lot of phrases in Tupi seem like they're very ambiguous phrases because there's so many ways to interpret them. But think about it this way, like when you're speaking with somebody, the colloquial speech that we use is a lot less explicit. It's a lot more based on context, based on what you know, what I know, what you're seeing, what I'm seeing. We all have evidence for what's going on. So there's no need to be so explicit and unambiguous in a language which we're all in the same place when we use it. So for languages that were often not written, you're going to find out that, these languages that are unwritten have more probability to incur ambiguity. But it's because, in these situations when we talk to each other, there isn't any ambiguity because we understand the context. Yeah, Igor.
Oh, I was about to tell a story, but it's too long. But anyway, when I used to teach English, I'm not an English, but I did that. But the thing is that the students they missed sometimes a lot of words to say the things because I myself feel like English is a little simpler in things, I guess, but I don't know if that's the exact reality. But the thing is that they wanted more words and more specific things to express things. But I had to tell them, okay, you have to accept people will understand you, but you don't need that much words. You don't need that specific word that you have in Portuguese that has this perfect idea and etc. So I think it's the same thing here. In practice, people really do understand each other, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like in practice, in a spoken language, I'm not just gonna walk up to you and say "shearuru," right? If I say that to you and I'm just telling you that randomly, does it make sense for me to just being like, "my sadness"? No, that doesn't make any sense. It makes sense that I'm saying I'm sad, right? So in that case, you know exactly what I'm saying. You don't have to be like, well, what if he said? No, it's obvious, right? I told you I'm sad. And if you try to think anything else, You're not being a very emotional human being. So yeah, but if I come up and say, I don't know, something like ereko shearuru, right? Like you have my sadness, or you made my sadness. Ere munyang shearuru, you made my sadness. Maybe that's more obvious that I'm talking about my sadness, but it could also mean you made me sad, right? So that's what I mean, where it's not useful to think about these like, oh, is this an adjective? Is this a verb? Is this a noun? Try to capture the meaning of what's being said, less than trying to like put it into boxes of what's going on in your head. And over time that you see these forms, they'll make more sense to you. And then the other case, I guess the only other case that I didn't cover is, roots that end in consonants. They're the same as roots ending in a, except you don't have to take the a away. You put it on to make the substantivo, the noun. So when you go searching through the dictionary and you find uba, it's going to be listed as a noun here, but you guys know because of this lesson that actually it's a verb of the second class. It's a descriptive verb, and you'll see that he even lists it here as an adjective, to have a father. That's not an adjective. What kind of adjective is that? That's not an adjective. Like, I don't know, to be a bastard, I guess. Right? Like if I said like Nande Ruby, that means you don't have a father. Maybe I'm calling you a bastard. Nande Ruby. Not father having person. Yeah. And so yeah, that's the basic idea of adjectives, how we use adjectives for ourselves. The other ideas that I guess we would want to know about adjectives is how we can actually triggers. sorry Igor. It wasn't a personal attack. The other ways that we can use adjectives are like in composition, right? So if I wanna modify another noun or modify another verb, then we kind of stick them together in composition. And I said we were going to end this class early, and I want to leave some questions for you guys. So I think that composition and genitive form of adjectives will be a good topic for the next class, for next Monday. And I'll leave it open for questions for you guys here. And I guess before we end the class, it would be cool if you guys could figure out how to answer my initial question at the beginning of the class. How do you say you speak well? Or just speak well. You don't have to conjugate it. Just speak well. Let's try and find that together. So, who knows how to say to speak?
Nyaenga.
Perfect. Nyaeng. And so, how do we say good? Well, does anyone know that?
Katu.
Katu. You're good at using the dictionary, huh?
The dictionary.
So nyaeng plus katu. What does that sound like? Nyaengatu. Look at that. Oh, so Nyaengatu is the name of the surviving language which comes from Tupi-Anchigo, which people still speak today. They call it Nyaengatu, which literally means good speech, right? And so we have the verb nyaeng. Nyaeng. How do we turn it into a noun? You can shout it out. Not you, Ivan. You've been talking too much.
Okay.
Someone else.
Add a vowel.
A vowel. Which vowel?
Ah,
perfect. Yes. It's really that easy, right? So, to speak. Speech. Look at that. Look how disgusting English is. This was an A and it turned it into an E. Ugh. All right, speech. And then we want to add katu at the end. When we add this, we're going to be modifying the root without the vowel, right? This subs. Think of this as like the last step of creating a noun is adding this on. This is the last step is putting this a if it doesn't already have a vowel. So I'm going to delete this and then I'm going to add katu at the end to modify it. So nyeeng katu means good speech, right? Nyeeng katu. In Tupi, we can't have consonants touching each other like that. And because G and K are really similar, what happens is the K just kind of goes away and it gets sucked into the G. More specifically, what happens is that the G goes away and then the K becomes vocalized. So you end up with the same thing. But that's the process, is that we take off the last consonant and then when we nasalize, right? G would be the nasalization of N, the way that Navajo describes it. It's actually a vocalization because G is not a nasal character. It's a vocal character of K. So ka, ga. Same exact thing. The only difference is you're using your vocal cords. Nyenkatu, nyengatu. Exactly that. And then at the end, we got to make sure, does it have a vowel at the end? We got to add the A? No, we don't have to add the A because it's already a vowel. So it's already a noun. So nyengatu, good speech, good words. Now if I say ere nyengatu, who knows what that means? We'll go look at this real quick. So we're going to go to our verbs, indicative mood. And we're going to look at our...
You speak well.
First, very good. You speak well. So notice how nothing has changed. Because verbs can end with vowels, no problem. You talking, Igor? You're muted.
No, I'm talking to myself.
Okay, good.
Understanding the whole thing because we put it right. That's it.
Yes, exactly. So, ere nyengatu. This is the prefix. This is what turns it into a verb. So I say you spoke well or you speak well because we don't have verb tense in Tupi. So that means you speak well. You speak well. Now, last one before I open it to questions. Someone tell me how to say your good word, possessive. Your good word. Your good speech, your good language, possessive. Agnes, you've been to the most classes. Let's close this out strong. Maybe she's busy. All right. How about you, Igor? Want to take a guess?
Well, I want to put A somewhere, but I
A.
don't know how to articulate.
Okay. Let's go back to our adjectives real quick. And I'll have to put this in a
Is it
different
an
section.
R somewhere?
We're gonna look here. Look at the difference between these two things. So, Sheran, I am rude. Sherana, my rudeness, right? And so this is a little tricky because this is not a second class verb like I taught you today. It's a first class verb. But the thing you have to understand is that first class verbs become nouns the same exact way, and you can use them as second class verbs. So if I say Anyeeng, that means I speak, I spoke. But if I say Shenyeeng, that's an adjective now. That means I'm a talker. I talk a lot. I'm someone who talks. I can talk, right? Shenyeeng, I talk. So now if I want to say your good word, possessive, right? What prefix are we going to use for possessive your? We're going to use de. De, just like we see here. De. And then we're going to say nye engatu, just like that. Your good word. Ndenye engatu. Right? And so that's the difference between erenye engatu, that's a verb. Ndenye engatu, that is a noun. you speak, you spoke versus your word. Does that make sense to everyone? All right, perfect. Let's open it up to questions for the last amount of time that you guys have.
I don't have a question, but I have a suggestion slash request.
Yeah, no problem.
I it would be cool to have some context on the phonetics of the language, and I
Yes.
see that it's very phonetic,
Yeah, so
so that helps.
I recommend that you go ahead. That was what we covered in the videos, the YouTube videos. And I just put this in the introduction, pronunciation. So you can go through this and click on all of these.
So,
And it's gonna read it to you.
well.
You can't hear it on, I don't know why, but you'll hear it on your computer. You can go through each of
wow.
these
Cunha.
and see exactly what the letters are. Does that help?
Yeah. Yeah, in the recording, I did watch the recordings, and when you click on that, we can actually hear it in the recording.
Yeah, in the recording, but not here.
I mean mostly as in like overall, like if there are any adaptations that we have to make, like for example, as in English, when sometimes you have to do reductions or things like that that are rules of pronunciation. That I guess it's just a personal thing too. That would be something that I would be interested in, but that's just a suggestion.
Yeah, we can definitely try to cover the phonetics a little bit more. The difficult part of this is that it's a dead language. So, in English we can say like, oh yeah, when we allied the words together, we say what about instead of what about, right? We have these rules, but unfortunately the most we have is kind of the phonetics. And there's even, sometimes people will comment on our videos like, oh, I love this video, but you sound so Portuguese when you read 2P. And it's like, we don't really know what they sounded like, So yeah, I would say for now, just do your best. And I think over time we'll develop an accent. Yeah, Igor.
What about Yangatu?
What about it? What do you want to know?
Oh, like for example, now, of course, the great people that speak good, right? They speak good.
Yeah, the good speakers.
It's the, but the thing is that it's a remaining reference, right?
Yeah, it's a reference, but the thing you have to understand about Nyingatu is that the people who speak it did not originally speak Tupian languages. They were brought that languages by the colonizers. And so they have their own speech patterns separate from what Tupian Chigo used to be. And aside from that, their languages themselves have been influenced heavily by Portuguese over time. So there's certain sounds that exist in Tupianchigo which don't exist in Yengatu. And you see that in the grammar as well. Not just the pronunciation, but the grammar ends up becoming very reduced. Like if after spending time learning lessons with me, you go to learn Yengatu, you're going to learn it in like a couple months because it's very similar to Tupianchigo, but it's way simpler in the pronunciation as well as in the orthography as well as in the grammar. Everything's simpler. So we can look at them and we can look at people who speak Guarani, and I definitely recommend you guys do that because it'll give you a better idea. But we can't say with confidence that that's how they would have actually been speaking. So I would recommend to push yourself to understand the written language before because we don't speak Tupianchigo that much. We want to speak more, which is why I'm giving you guys these classes. It would be cool if I could start speaking to you in this, but even Mateus and I, we struggle to speak Tupianchigo. We can write it and then recite it in a script, but speaking it is really hard because we can't, we have to create these spaces to practice speaking Tupianchigo. So I would say first focus on the grammar, focus on learning words, focus on the meaning, and then focus on the pronunciation because the grammar and stuff and the meaning, we know what that's about, but the pronunciation is a little more fuzzy.
Amazing.
Awesome. All right, guys, 5 more minutes. Any more questions, or should I let you go early?
I just wanted to thank you for creating this space, I think it's very interesting because I was thinking about the irony of the Bandeirantes forcing Engatu as a lingua franca upon indigenous peoples up north. And now fast forward to 2024, and we're learning Tupi-Antigo from someone who has the global lingua franca as their native language. So
And
it's
we're
almost
learning
like
it in English with
in English.
with a New
Exactly, like
Yorker, right?
This is a
exactly someone who
historic
has
reparations.
the actual lingua franca, right, as their native language. So it's almost the exact opposite dynamic, breaking the spell of historical suppression, I guess.
Yes, this is I'm an immigrant. I'm not an expat. I'll put it that way. I'm here in Brazil to become Brazilian. I'm gonna make you guys more Brazilian too, along the process.
You surely are more Brazilian than I am, so you do consider yourself a Brazilian.
I appreciate it.
In my perspective, Brazil doesn't exist, but I'm not gonna get into that.
Okay, all right.
But yeah. But I think it's great. You're really Brazilian. We receive you with open arms.
Of course. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys for coming because it makes me feel like it's worth putting all this effort in, that you guys are actually getting some use out of it. And, who knows what, maybe one day you guys will start classes of Tupi and Chigu teaching other people using this grammar. And I will translate this to Portuguese. It's just easier for me to work on it in English because I speak English. Once it's done, I'm going to translate everything to Portuguese so that this could be a bigger resource. But you guys are a part of the development process and the teaching process, and it's very important because I don't really think any classes outside of the actual aldeias, I don't think this really exists, outside of the actual indigenous people who are trying to bring back their language. So it's a really interesting initiative that we're doing here. All right.
Yeah, if you ever need help translating, doing the hard work, you can. I can help you.
Okay,
Yeah, I can
great.
help too.
I'll
I
call
can
all
help.
of you guys. I'll split it up into work so it's not all a lot. We'll get to that point, hopefully. Hopefully soon. Yeah. Once we get to a point where you guys feel like, wow, I've learned quite a bit of Tupi, we can make it concrete and translate it into Portuguese. How about that? All right. Well, I'll cut it short there then. It's been a wonderful time. I've really enjoyed teaching you guys, and I hope you have a wonderful Monday. I'll see you guys on Saturday. You want to say something, Mateus? You're waving. He's emoting. All right. Ciao. Valeu. Falou.